Good day everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It's Londononion here with another Back 4 Blood cleaner synergy analysis. Now it is important to first state the parameters and limitations before undergoing our analysis. As we are all aware, deck builds are essentially the cornerstone of Back 4 Blood, and given the various combinations they can be arranged in, some of our talking points will inherently be rife with nuance and open to alternative opinion. But, and this is a big but, this is not meant to be a dogmatic presentation. Next, a major part of evaluating synergy will also be centered on acts, and of course the levels within them, each of which requiring different strategies for optimal progression depending on difficulty and corruptions. Lastly, for those that were present for our cleaner role-based deck builds, a good portion of today's discussion will be based on our earlier interpretations of each cleaner's meta, as well as incorporating their role designations and the associated implications. I highly recommend checking out that playlist, which is available in the description below. Now, since this is a revisitation to Act 1, we won't delve into the different stages and their main areas of difficulty, though this will naturally be a byproduct of our discussion when determining synergy among cleaners. Just to be sure that we are all on the same page, I'm using synergy to refer to cleaner skills and builds that benefit from and, to an extent, compensate for each other. Just to give a brief recap of our previous video on Act 1, our chosen cleaners were Evangelo, Walker, Doc, and Hoffman. Summing up the builds for each cleaner, I had Evangelo in the leader position with movement and stamina as his main strengths. Accompanying this, he was built with the intent of general effectiveness using high economy weapons, i.e. SMGs, and any secondary to fit circumstances, though ideally melee weapons with a health preserving and crowd effectiveness incentive. Next in command, I employed Walker, who was built as the general damage expert, with some defenses and a small niche toward buffing the offensive prowess of his team. Carrying on, I had Doc as the designated medic with an expertise in healing regular health, trauma, and to an extent providing temporary health. Lastly, I employed Hoffman with a build oriented toward heavy contingencies against virtually any threat, and armed with an LMG, shotgun, and of course an array of hard-hitting throwables. Now, just a brief note before we carry on with the rest of our discussion. I made a slight rework to my prior designations used in our previous synergy analysis to ideally eliminate any misunderstanding for their use. I have come across my fair share of terms to describe different roles in conjunction with an associated build. Naturally, there will be some nuance, but this spectrum is a collection of common terms both from myself as well as others in the Back 4 Blood community. The groupings and placement are technically arbitrary, but this is what I would support as an optimal formation for team defense and capitalizing the strengths of different roles. Now, to kick off our synergistic team, I prefer to start with a cleaner in the alpha grouping, and allow the rest to follow based on the attributes of their leader. Now, a number of you may have found my cleaner selections earlier to be a little off the mark in our last synergy video. Rest assured, the alpha we'll be selecting today was originally my first choice due to the application of her perks, but I figured this was too much of an easy pick, as I enjoy finding alternatives to what is conventional. Regardless, I figured it was worth mentioning. So the leading cleaner we'll pick today is Carly. Her core skills, though general and open-ended, allows her to be versatile to the point of creating the capacity for virtually any kind of build. Though personally, it is her first unique perk that creates a rationale for being a chief navigator, while the other two perks I use to diversify her adaptivity and efficiency beyond just use speed and quick inventory slots. This will ultimately create an independent/generally effective cleaner. Now, there are some crucial areas where Carly's base perks come into play. Shout out to Drunk Bunny 94, who left a thought-provoking comment, or dare I call it a criticism, regarding the use, or lack thereof, of Carly and alternative strategies in deck building and team tactics for success in Act 1. As many of you would probably agree, Carly can play crucial roles for different portions of Act 1, especially for the final stage, Sound of Thunder for loading the howitzer with enhanced use speed, or having an extra quick inventory slot / starting off with a toolkit in Stage 1, among other useful applications. In regards to loadout, I built Carly with the intention of an assault rifle and a melee weapon as a secondary. Looking at Carly's perks and build against our main areas of difficulty, in regards to each plane of strategy, adaptation, attrition, and blitzkrieg, she is competent in each regard, but not a specialist. Her enhanced weak spot damage, ridden death-fueled stamina, and increased movement provides some defense against hordes and basic ridden. Enhanced ridden and mutations, however, stunt her momentum and rival her offensive capability. In regards to attrition, she has a natural aptitude for sensing and avoiding hazards, but beyond alarmed and prepper doors, she cannot disable anything else, but is forced to carefully navigate her environment. Otherwise, specific objectives can be sped up where use speed is required to aid with curbing longevity. Lastly, for adaptation, map size is mainly thwarted with superior speed, gaining access through certain locked doors, or having a reliable means of health preservation, nullifying the effects of a large map which is typically correlated with a higher volume of ridden and consequently greater odds of health being chipped away. Challenges and bonus objectives is a game of luck and preparedness, which comes easy with the right supply of copper and teamwork. This particular area is where Carly shines the brightest in this onion's opinion. However, this assessment is based on the build I employ with Carly. With all of this said, despite her general effectiveness, Carly would benefit from other cleaners that can capitalize on areas where she falls short, or will likely experience increased difficulty. So moving on to our major designation, I decided to go with Holly, and she may fit into a series of designations with the way she is built. She has heightened damage resistance, specializes in close quarters combat with melee weapons and shotguns, and can remain offensively capable for any duration of ridden hordes with her stamina and health regenerative perks. Looking at our Mads matrix, Holly can act as a specialist in the face of hordes, and enhance ridden where Carly would likely experience more difficulty. Additionally, in the event of hazards, the same conclusion can be made. Naturally, by extension, Holly can fit as a crescendo expert against all types of ridden. Mutations, however, may create some difficulty for her. As far as longevity goes, because Holly can heal herself and is built for both regular and temporary health, longevity is generally less of a problem, though this is not her area of expertise, as Holly thrives in hordes. In regards to Act 1, crescendo events can be handled with the correct preparation of throwables, but even if preparation should fail, Holly will shine, especially during stages within the Blue Dog Hollow series, having the largest crescendo events. Just like our previous synergy analysis, we won't select our minor just yet, but instead we'll go with the Omega first. Because of the ground both Carly and Holly cover, mutations and bosses are still without an expert deterrent, but most other areas of difficulty are satisfied. So trailing this cleaner team, I decide to go with Jim. Now, as many would probably guess, Jim is predisposed and built towards specializing in weak spot damage. This inherently designates him as a mutation hunter and boss specialist. Now, Jim, as I have him built, is a relatively one-dimensional cleaner, ideally equipped with a hard-hitting sniper and a secondary of choice to help compensate for its shortcomings. So bosses and mutations, whether they occur in hordes or not, is Jim's niche. Plus, as a sniper who focuses on key targets, he will have an easier time doing so from a more protected position, while his supports aid with general defense at the front. For our final cleaner to assist in the minor position, I would choose to employ Mom. With Mom's build, she is mainly oriented toward temporary means of health regeneration, but she is also built with an offensive edge, particularly with the Belgian, allowing her to lend support should ridden breach main defenses, while also aiding with rear protection. Mom would be fitting as the designated medic and team supporter. Looking at the Mads matrix briefly, Mom plays a small role in both adaptation and attrition. She is predisposed to creating fail-safes for her team should they fall, and her build capitalizes on temporary health and revive speed. Because of the variety corruptions can come in, Mom with her temporary health and Carly with her copper-based preparation and base perks satisfies the demands of longevity on the adaptation plane. Attrition is mainly handled by Holly and Carly due to use speed, increased crowd control capability, and Carly's foresight with hazards. Lastly, the Blitzkrieg plane is mainly handled by Holly and Jim with their prowess toward numerous ridden and tough bosses and mutations. And of course, each plane is somewhat supported by the unmentioned cleaners. So there we have it. Carly as Alpha and specializing in general effectiveness. Holly as Major, specializing in crowd control with melee weapons, endurance, and health preservation. Mom as Minor, the designated medic and team supporter. And lastly, Jim as the mutation hunter and boss specialist. Now, as I have stated before, Act 1 is quite lengthy, and to suggest that I am the arbiter of what constitutes an ideal team is outside of this onion's purview. Not to mention, different mixtures of cleaners and alternative builds can also garner success. Today's discussion is simply my take on creating a theoretically sound team for Act 1. Additionally, deck builds really boil down to the user, their playstyle, as well as the maturity of their team, which I've explained ad nauseum in my previous videos. But otherwise, this brings us to the end of our discussion today. Thank you guys oh so much for joining me on this one, and in our next video, we have some experimenting to do in regards to our newest cleaner, Tala. I had recently created a role-based deck build for her. This build, however, is only one way of capitalizing on her capabilities. A fair amount of you seem to have a more popular suggestion in regards to her build, which should be interesting to experiment and see how her designation may become extended. It's been Londononion, and I will see you guys next time.